Hey everybody, I'm Jason O'Fell, and it's been a long time since I have posted anything on this channel, and I take full responsibility for that. It's 2021, and there's so much good content coming our way in 2021 that I am full steam ahead to be here with you guys to discuss it, to analyze it, and to have fun with it. Now, if you've ever liked this channel, or if you start to like this channel, or if you already like this channel, please don't forget to subscribe, turn on those notifications, and share and comment. So without further ado, let's start diving into WandaVision. And now I know we're starting with episode 4, but in all honesty, as somebody who watches a lot of content, I needed some time to really kind of get into the show. I didn't want to judge it on its first, second, or even third episode. I feel that's unfair because WandaVision is going to be telling an overarching larger story that is going to be jump-starting phase 4 of the MCU. So I'm a lot more willing to give it time to tell that story than most people I have seen in forums who are just like pooping all over it, saying they don't like the writing, they don't like the acting, they don't like any of it. Like, give the show time to breathe. I didn't love Game of Thrones its first 4 episodes in its first season. I didn't love it at all in its last season at all. Now, as we get into this episode, I do want to know we're going to be talking about the episode, theories, and there will be spoilers for not only this episode, but future episodes. So if you don't like spoilers, stop. This episode immediately starts with Monica Rambeau returning from the snap. Now, I loved that we were starting it this way. I'm kind of curious to see what happens to people when they return from the snap in the middle of something that was happening. Now, one of the things that I enjoyed about this episode was the bait and switch. It is clearly set up in the first few minutes that the episode will be through Monica's eyes, but that isn't true. Once she enters the field that surrounds Westview, we spend the rest of the episode learning what is or isn't causing what is going on. I love the idea that this town and its inhabitants have been erased from memory. We also have the return of Darcy Lewis. Personally, from both of their first scene beats, I felt that it was implied that both of these two survived the snap. You especially, I feel, see it in Darcy, who seems more worn down a bit in regards to all of this sword shield stuff. Now, in Darcy's case, this could lead into Thor, Love, and Thunder, because I am going to bet that Jane Porter did not survive the snap, which would have added to Thor's depression. Darcy's able to pick up that the town is surrounded by computational molecular biology, or CMB. CMB is the state of the universe when it became transparent 380,000 years after the Big Bang. And the universe became transparent because the cooling caused by its expansion allowed ionized gas to recombine into neutral hydrogen and helium, which is transparent to visible light. So we can measure the afterglow of the Big Bang. And in that measurement, Darcy finds what we have been watching for 2 weeks. A show about 2 Avengers, one of whom is very dead in the MCU. We now get to watch what's happening outside the bubble and the effects of what is happening inside the bubble at the same time. We, of course, see the reappearance of the Beekeeper, who is, as we realized, a Sword member. That is where he came from. And we actually don't know the fate of that particular person. I know many people have brought up the fact that on the wall that there is a picture of Agnes and she does not have a driver's license or a last name on her sheet. And that Dottie isn't really seen either. Now, we know through IMDb that Emma Caulfield, who plays Dottie, is listed as being in one more episode, and that is episode 6. I personally was gunning for the belief that Dottie was the MCU's version of Lila Miller, but this episode also confirmed, at least for now, a different story than what I was thinking. I always felt that the big twist would be that Agnes would be Agatha Harkness, and that she would be the actual villain, since we know that Marvel has not only changed the background of some villains, but outright red herring others, or made established villains good. I'm looking at you, Skrulls. Darcy's WTF moment comes when Wanda confronts Rambeau after the latter mentions both Quicksilver and Ultron. Of course, as we see, it does not go well for Monica. And it leads us to the answer of what people think is the big Q, who the villain is. It's Wanda. Our villain is Wanda. Possibly. And here we begin to see how this all will be the MCU's version of the House of M. Now, for those who don't know, the House of M was a lead-up after both Planet X and Avengers Disassembled storylines, where Wanda has a mental breakdown and tries to alter reality to recreate her lost children. Now, we don't have all the players in the MCU for the comics version of House of M. No Magneto, no Quicksilver, no X-Men. But that doesn't mean that we can't explore the core structure of the comic in the MCU, the same way the MCU explored the core structure of Civil War. And we are seeing it. Not only has Wanda created a world where Vision has not died, but a world where they are happy and married and have kids, checking off all the lists of the American dream, even as the other people in the town are living an American nightmare. And we know that Wanda is aware and in control of what is happening, but her heart's desire is what's being fulfilled and fueling this power and this paradox. We know that WandaVision is going to not only set up the large story portions for Phase 4 of the MCU, but also be a direct setup for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. When Scott Dickerson was still attached to direct that film, he openly talked about wanting to make Nightmare the central villain. But since his departure and Sam Raimi signing on, I would wager that this is no longer the case. So while we know that Wanda is aware and in control, who could be manipulating her if she is being manipulated? I'm going to go with Carl Mordo. Hear me out on this. The rumor mill says that in Doctor Strange 2, Carl Mordo's mission is going to be to end all magic. And that was the setup from the first Doctor Strange, his desire to end all magic, sorcerers, etc. The Time Stone no longer exists, so that is something he can't really use, even though they have implied through the official yet unofficial synopsis that Dr. Stephen Strange will be continuing his research on the Time Stone. So the only stone that actually exists at this point, and I use the term stone loosely, is in Wanda and her powers, since a stone gave them to her. Now let's go with another really big idea, like really big. What if the reason Wanda has been manipulated, assuming she has been, is so she can be used to tap into the power cosmic? Now, the power cosmic we know is not more powerful than the Infinity Stones in the comics, but they have been destroyed in the MCU and this specific timeline. So it would be, in that theory, the most powerful thing at this moment out there. We know that the power cosmic is the power of a collapsed universe that is in the possession of Galactus. And look, now that Marvel has the first family, aka Fantastic Four, announced, we can assume that Galactus is out there. The power cosmic is revealed in Annihilation War as a force that replaces the auras of souls of characters that are imbued with controlling and storing it. Like someone else who was controlling and storing a certain stone in their forehead. And this knowledge, in the comics, comes before another Marvel event. And if you're playing the guessing game and then you guessed it, good for you. A small Marvel event called The House of M, which itself was followed by Secret Invasion, that we know is going to be on Disney Plus as an event series as opposed to an event film. Now, look, I have raised a lot of questions and theories, and we are only on episode 4. There is actually a preview floating around that's been since pulled down from YouTube per Disney of episode 6 that shows Wanda even more the villain, and unless it's a good fake, which it's been proven that it's not, Evan Peters is Quicksilver, which could be our first step towards the multiverse that we know is being explored next in Spider-Man 3 before being fully unleashed in Doctor Strange 2. Listen, it would not be above the realm of possibility that Marvel is introducing the multiverse way before they introduce the quantum realm. And that's because the multiverse can get really confusing, especially if you're just the average Joe moviegoer. Like, I've read the comics and I get confused by the multiverse. I'm like, Earth, what? What's happening? How many is happening here? So yeah, it is really possible that we are getting into the multiverse very early, very quickly to make it easier for people to digest it in Phase 4 leading into Phase 5. I will say the first 3 episodes of this show left me wanting. And I'm not gonna be one of those people that's like gonna poop all over the writing, is gonna poop all over the acting. They don't train this kind of acting anymore. We don't make this kind of television anymore. It's not a learned thing anymore. You know, it's kind of like the studio system. You used to learn how to be in a musical, and they made musicals. Musicals are hard to make now because we don't train people to make them. So I kind of gave the show a pass, mainly because I grew up watching a lot of that era of television. I Love Lucy, The Honeymooners, All in the Family, Golden Girls, Cosby Show, Mary Tyler Moore, all that stuff. So I was a little bit more forgiving knowing that the actors and the writers haven't really had to experience that kind of stuff that much. So it's a learning curve. And honestly, at the end of the day, the reason that Marvel is so successful is that it keeps you engaged and guessing. So now I'm even more engaged, and now I'm guessing and theorizing, which with you guys is honestly half the fun. All right, everybody. I'm Jason O'Ville. If you enjoyed this video and this channel, don't forget to like or comment, give us a share, subscribe, turn on your notifications, And if you're coming here and taking part in this community of fans from all quadrants, then that makes you pretty awesome. So thank you. And I'll see you guys next time.